spot, we're going to be having a look at the DC Superheroes Clayface from the Batman series, or Batman Wave. I really wanted to get this guy reviewed, and I promised I was going to go through and I was going to review all the waves leading up to the DC Universe. So every time I was pulling out my figures from the different waves, Wave 1, Wave 2, Wave 3, and I kept looking at the Clayface and I'm like, oh, I really want to open this guy up. But I figured, no, I'm going to wait, do the other reviews, and then, you know, I'll enjoy him even more when I eventually get to this wave. Now that I'm at this point, I am excited. Let's get this guy going. We have a look at the packaging. We have the nice dark blue, or the dark purple, which I commented before that I really like. Now the figures, I didn't mention before, but the figures come with a diorama. The diorama opens up a bit, and then you got a bit of a cityscape. I'm not a big fan of the dioramas, just because if a figure is a certain size, and then you've got the diorama that jets out, you know, half an inch or so more, or a couple inches more on either side, the figure does take up a fair bit of space on a shelf. And I think for that reason, I'm not one to use probably the dioramas. I might just leave. I might just pack them away or something and just have the figures as is. Because space, at least in my place, is a little more limited. I can't put everything out. But if we have a look on the back of the packaging, now this is the revamped packaging from the Bane card. So you have additional, what, 2 or 3 characters. You got the Catwoman, you've got the Bruce Wayne to Batman edition. You've also got the Nightwing and the Joker. And I had commented that I picked up all of them, and I didn't end up picking the Night Shadow Batman. The only reason for it is, as many of you already know, I don't buy repaints and I don't buy remolds all that often. The only time I will is if for some reason, like in the comics, if maybe Batman had used that at one point. As far as I know, he hasn't, and for that reason I just didn't bother picking him up. The Nightwing I did have, but I ended up selling him just because I thought the DC Universe Nightwing from the Four Horsemen looked a lot nicer, and so for that reason I sold him. And so, I mean, there you have the other figures in the wave. The one thing that's interesting to point out in this Clayface figure, at least, is there's a little hole on the side of the packaging. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, why is there a hole in the side of the packaging? The reason for it is because this limb, and you probably won't see it until I open the figure up, but this limb is a rubber. And I'll talk more about the limb as when I open up the figure, but it is nice that they've got like a little try-me kind of scratch and sniff. No, it doesn't smell good, but nice little hole there. So there you have the packaging on Clayface. Without any without any delay, let's get this guy opened up and we will get a closer look at one of my favorite figures ever to be released. Let's get a closer look at Clayface. Oh, the wait was so worth it. Now we finally have Clayface out of the package, and I gotta say, it's everything I had hoped for and so much more. For those who follow the 90s Batman the Animated Series, the great folks who designed this guy depicted this Clayface from that series. And for those who follow the Batman comics back in the day, there were, 4 Clayfaces? There was a masked Clayface. There was probably the closest Clayface to this one, the Matt Gargan. Why am I saying that? I don't remember the guy's name. Anyways, I'll throw it in the video. But then there was a Lady Clayface. Then there was the Ultimate Clayface, which I believe was like a merged Clayface. There was about 4 Clayfaces. So I mean, they had several options, but at the end of the day, they went with the Batman Animated Series look of Clayface, which I think a lot of people now consider to be the look of Clayface. And Clayface then continued over into Justice League for the 1 episode Secret Society. And I was pleased as punch to see him in Justice League. That was really cool. And but let's get a closer look at the figure, though. The sculpt on him is just It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, the detailing that they put into this figure. And this figure is a little harder now to find. However, they were nice enough to re-release Clayface in a 2-pack with Batman. Now it's not the black costume Batman from this same wave. The Batman that they're reissuing is actually the Batman from Wave 1 of DC Superheroes. The only thing is now they've painted that Batman black, and then they've put a little bit of clay, like clay marks all over him, like pieces of clay and stuff like that. But the Clayface from that wave, allegedly, if you'll see this, like his arms are a rubber, and the idea is they were trying to make it more like mud. Apparently, from what I've heard, the Clayface reissued with the Batman, they've now gotten rid of this rubber, and they've opted just to give him a plastic arm. A plastic arm complete with articulation. And so it's not going to be quite the exact same Clayface figure. It's going to be a little bit different. I prefer the rubber, and I do actually like I like being able to pick him up, and you feel definitely that, you know, he's got some texture to him. Now, speaking of articulation, surprisingly for how sculpted this figure is, he still has a load of articulation. There's articulation in his head. I would almost, yeah, it looks like it's a ball joint, because you can get a free range of movement. There is articulation in the arms. Now, being that this is rubber, what you're getting here is a pipe cleaner, for those familiar with action figures. So you can actually bend the figure any which way you want, and usually a good indication that it's a pipe cleaner is that it's got the holes usually in the rubber. And I don't know if that's going to give me problems down the road where it might eventually pierce this rubber, so I'm not going to oppose it too much, but it is nice that you get a free range of movement. Definitely nice. He has articulation in the torso as well, and he has articulation in the waist, although a lot of it's really stiff right now. Articulation in the leg, there's articulation in the knee, and he's also got articulation in the foot. So for what the figure is, with the pipe cleaners and everything else, you can get a free range of movement, and it's not too hindered by the sculpt on the figure. I really love this figure, though. I mean, this, to me, this is the definitive Clayface, and I don't know. I mean, with DC Universe coming out with more obscure characters, I would really like to see the other incarnations of Clayface. One of my favorite Batman stories was, it was a 4-parter, and it had the Clayfaces all in it. And I'm hoping that they're going to come up with the other Clayfaces, the one with the dome and the Lady Clayface and all that kind of stuff, because that would be awesome to have them all on display. But I so love this figure. It's one of the only few figures I can give a thumbs up for. If you guys can find it, you definitely want to pick it up, especially the original one with the rubber, because I think it makes the figure all that much cooler. But that was a DC Superhero Clayface spot, and that hit the spot. I'll see you guys next time.